Alright, so with the next few videos, we'll try to see how much we can get through on the test, or sorry, on the review. This says Mark simplified an expression, but was told his final answer was incorrect. Look at the steps below, find the mistake, and correct. So corrected work. A lot of the times on your test, you'll have these boxes. Make sure that your work finds its way somewhere inside this box. The boxes and you writing in your work count as partial credit. So you want to make sure that you're writing whatever work you're doing in here and not just A, B, C, or D, you know, whatever you're answering. Make sure that something lands in here. That, again, that's partial credit. All right, so here we see Mark's work. He has 2x minus 2, parentheses 4x minus 3, close parentheses plus 1. All right, so we see those parentheses and we know that we have to get rid of the parentheses first. The first step is going to be to distribute. Now here's the thing where a lot of people make mistakes, so I think this is going to be Mark's mistake as well. Whenever we distribute, the sign that's before the number always sticks to that number. So right now that negative is going to, or that minus sign sticks to the 2, making it into a negative 2. So whenever we distribute, we're actually multiplying negative 2, I'll show it up here, negative 2 times 4x, which is going to give me negative 8x. Okay, which that step is correct. And then whenever he distributes again, it's going to be negative 2 times, whenever he goes in the second time, that sign sticks to the 3. One really good rule of thumb is always think the sign's always sticking to that thing that comes right after it. So this negative sticks to that. Now we have negative 2 times negative 3. And a negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. And then 2 times 3 is going to give me 6. So this should be a positive 6. And that's where his mistake is he has a negative 6. Right, now it says, you know, look, check to see which step he made a mistake on, and then make sure that you correct it. So what I want to do is I want to take this whole line, and I want to correct it. My correction is going to be that that's a plus. So I'm going to take that whole line, go over here, and I'm going to rewrite it as 2x minus 8x plus 6 plus 1. Right, and so as soon as I correct that mistake, that's what they've asked me to do. I would get full credit for this problem if it was on the test. Okay, so make sure that you're writing your answer, or you're showing your work on this part right here. Number 3 says Jacob solved the following equation for x and then asked a friend, Zach, if he did it correctly. Zach tells Jacob that he made a mistake. Using complete sentences, explain where Jacob went wrong. So again, same thing, and this is actually going to be the same exact mistake, and that is going to be that whenever he distributes that, whenever he's trying to get rid of the parentheses by distributing that negative 5, he distributes. That first distribution step, it's going to be negative 5 times x, which gives us negative 5x, which is correct. That second distribution step, negative 5 times 1, right, that should give us negative 5. And instead, he writes in a positive 1. So what he did is he just brought the 1 down, which is the mistake. Right, so again, if we were correcting this, we would say your step should have been 4x minus 5x minus 5 equals 10. Right, that should have been his step, and then from there he would combine like terms, do everything else the same. It says to use a complete sentence, so you could say something like, when he distributes, he doesn't multiply the negative 5 and the positive 1 correctly. Correctly. It should be you know, negative 5. Something like that. Right? Just a complete sentence answering, you know, what he did incorrectly and how to fix it. Flipping the page, we would get to problem number 4. This is explaining a complete sentence what the next step would be and actually find the next step. So I'm not going to go ahead and write an actual full sentence just because, you know, we're kind of pressed on time with the videos. But the next step, again, anytime that you have parentheses, is always going to be to distribute. And in this time we have a positive 3. So this is going to be 3, positive 3 times x. Anytime you do a number times a letter, it's just going to be the number and the letter stuck together, so it's going to be 3x. And then you do positive 3 times the negative 4, and that's going to give me negative 12. Everything else comes down, negative 15, and 2x, negative 2x. And then the 3x that we did the first time was positive, so I can put a plus in between these two things. All right, and that would be my step. Again, it says to use your words, use complete sentences, find out what the next step would be, and do the next step. This is the next step. I'm going to leave the sentences up to you guys. With the next equation, equation 5, it says which equation is equivalent to the equation 2h minus 3t equals 12? Justify your answer. So again, whenever you see something like this on your test, you want to write it in this box right here. Okay. Now this time around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw my line first. What you want to do is you want to look at your answer choices. If I look at all of these, it looks like they all are solved for h. So it looks like what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to try to see if I can get get my original equation, solve it for h. That means get the h by itself, and then get all the other stuff on the other side, and then see if that stuff matches with any of these answer choices. That's going to be my best bet. Again, one of the words here says equivalent, so equivalent just means equal. Right, so nothing's going to be added or subtracted or taken in, right? There's no extra stuff going on anywhere. It's just rearranging these terms algebraically. So do you remember your steps is going to be the big thing. I'll go ahead and work it out in that box where they provide. So this is going to be 2h minus 3t equal to 12. Draw my line down my equal sign. If I want to get the h by itself, that means that what I do is I box it in. Maybe your teacher does something different. I box it in. If it's in a box, I know that I don't need to touch it. In fact, you can even cover it up if you want to, if you're a little bit more comfortable with that. I need to get rid of the minus 3t. I need to get that over to the other side. So we're going to do plus 3t. And then on this side, plus 3t. All right, now that's going to cancel. On here, we have 12 plus 3t. What you want to remember with literal equations, which is what this is, a literal equation. If we can't combine it, we're not going to complicate our lives. We're just going to bring it down. Now, think about it this way. If it was 12 plus 3t, if it was written out that way, we wouldn't say, hey, these two things are like terms, we're going to combine them. We would just leave them as is. So that's actually what we're going to do. We're going to bring these things down. We cannot combine a letter and a number. So we're going to write this as 3t plus 12. Or 12 plus 3t is the same thing. Keep our equal sign. The 2h that we didn't touch this round is going to come down. All right, and now my last step to get the h completely by itself is going to be to divide by 2. So again, 2h divided by 2, that's going to be a big 1. So h is just going to be left. So h equals 3t divided by 2. I can actually start simplifying some of these together. So 3t divided by 2 is going to be 3/2 t. And then 12 divided by 2 is going to be 6. So I can say plus 6. You can go ahead and box that in. That's going to be our answer. And then all we have to do is just match it to one of our answer choices, 3/2 t plus 6, which is going to be A. Next one here, we have another literal equation. It says the shoe size and foot length are related by the formula S equals 3F minus 24, where S represents the shoe size and F represents the length of the foot in inches. Solve the formula for F, 4 points. All right, so we would see something like this on the test. Again, it's going to be a literal equation, so we would start with S. Make sure that your S's look like S's and not like your 5s. So S equals 3F minus 24. All right, so again, it tells me to solve the formula for F. In other words, it's telling me to get the F by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in a box. I can cover it up. I need to get rid of that minus 24. I need to get that to the other side first. So we're going to do plus 24, plus 24. This is going to create a 0 pair. Those are going to go away. S plus 24, again, we're left with the conundrum of a number plus a letter. Sorry, a number plus a letter. I cannot combine those two things, so I'm just going to bring them both down. So I'm going to have S plus 24 equal to 3f. And now my last step to get the f completely by itself is going to be to divide by 3 and then divide that side by 3. Right, I'm going to go ahead and take my work and bring it up over here. So again, we have the s plus 24 equal to 3f, and we just divided by 3. Sorry, it's just so that we can see it a little bit easier. The 3 and the 3, those are going to cancel out. I'm going to be left with just f. On this side, I can do s divided by 3, which I can't really do, but I can simplify that as just simply s over 3. On this side, I have 24 divided by 3, which I can do on the calculator. Anytime that I have two numbers, I can do on the calculator. 24 divided by 3 is going to give me 8. So I can say that that's going to be plus 8. And so my answer should be f equals s over 3 plus 8. Something like that. All right, we're going to go ahead and try to sneak 7 into the video. I try not to make the videos too long. So you have a carpenter charges $40 for every 50 feet of fence he builds, plus a travel charge of $30. If the equation C equals 4/5 F plus 30 can be used to determine the total cost C of the building total cost C of the building F feet, and that should be feet, of fence, how many feet of fence can he build for a cost of $50? Show your work. So this first bit of information that we're given, that 40, that 50, and that 30, that's to set up this equation right here. Since the equation is already set up for me, I don't really have to worry too much about these numbers, right? Because it's already set up for me. If it wasn't set up for me, then I would have to say, okay, how am I going to set this up? How am I going to make sense of these numbers? Since it's already set for me, I'm already done with that step. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and copy it down over here. Oops, 40. And then again, you want to make sure that you understand which of your variables means what. So C is the cost, the total cost, and F represents the feet of fence. Our question that they ask us is how many feet of fence can he build for a cost of $50? So here's the big kicker, or the big thing that we need to finish this problem. It tells me that the cost is going to be $50. It's actually telling me that, hey, guess what? Your C, this variable right here, that's going to be replaced with the 50. Whenever you replace that with the 50, we should be able to solve this just like we would any other equation. So the way that this is set up is they give you two different equations or two different letters, and then they tell you, hey, one of your letters is worth this value. So then all you do is plug it in and then solve. Okay? So we draw our line. I'm going to replace this C with the total cost, which is 50. So we have 50 equal to, let's go ahead and change that into a decimal already. So 40 divided by 50 is actually going to be 0.8. So you have 0.8F plus 30. And then we solve just like we would anything else. So now that we went from two variables down to just one, now I can finally solve. Right, this is stuff that we've been doing all year. 0.5F, I'm going to cover that up. I need to get rid of the positive 30, so we're going to do opposite negative 30. That's going to cancel out, positive and negative. 50 minus 30, I'm going to go ahead and bring it up over here. That's going to give me 20. On this side, this is going to come all the way down, so this is going to be 0.8F. Finally, to get the F completely by itself, right, because I want to figure out how many feet of fence can I build for this much money. So I want to divide this by 0.8. 0.8 over 0.8, as long as you have the same thing over itself, it's always going to be a 1. And then 20 divided by 0.8, that's going to be 25. So we get that 25 is equal to F. So again, it's a literal, not a literal equation. This is one of those equations where you just, like I said, you're given two variables. You have to plug one of these in because it gives you the value for one of those variables. You plug it in and then you just solve. All right, we're going to leave 8 for the next video, and hopefully with the next video we can almost finish, if not finish completely.